Good evening, everyone. My name is Russ Reeves. I'm the city engineer here in Troy, New York, and the executive secretary of the planning board. I want to call the meeting to order. This evening, we're going to elect a chairman of the planning board. But first, I'd like to stand and give a pledge of allegiance to the flag.
To the flag. The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could we please have a roll call, Eric?
Peter Kehoe.
Here.
Jim Shufelt.
Here.
Joffrey York.
Here.
Jim Scully.
Here.
And Tony Dickinson.
Here.
And with that, I would like to make a motion for the election of Peter Kehoe to chairman of the Troy Planning Board. Do I have a second?
A second.
Eric, would you like to place a roll call?
All in favor?
Oh, yeah. So all in favor of that vote?
Aye.
Aye. Opposition? Yep. And before us this evening, we have some old business, and this is Planning Commission number 2024-0029, 200 Broadway. Is there anyone here who speaks on behalf of 200 Broadway? Yeah. Could you please state your name and address for the record?
Sure. Good evening. My name is Andy Brick of the Brick Law Firm, 200 Computer Drive, Albany, New York, 12205. On behalf of Henrik Hudson, LLC, the owner of 200 Broadway. With me is Kelsey Carr, our project engineer from La Bella, and Amber Matthias from the property owner, LLC. Good evening. Congratulations. I've been representing or appearing before planning boards for almost 30 years. It'll be 30 years in February. I've served as a planning board member. I've served as a planning board chair. I have never had the privilege of presenting the first application before a new board. So this is kind of exciting for me. So thank you for the opportunity and best of luck to you in your new roles. 200 Broadway, the Henrik Hudson building, most people are familiar with it. It's pretty historic. It's on Broadway between 2nd and Franklin. We've owned it for a number of years, and we are seeking to convert the top 3 floors from its current use as office, well, vacant office, into apartments. It's a 7-story structure. The first story, as I'm sure you know, is commercial. Floors 2 through 4 are currently apartments, 9 units each per floor, and we are hoping to mirror that on the 5th through 7th floor. Exactly what exists below it: 9 units, 27 units total, 36 beds total on floors 5 through 7. The office space was occupied by the State Attorney General's office, but they have since moved out, and it has been difficult for us over an extended period of time to try and find office tenant. But we know there's a demand for residential. So we're seeking to convert the top 3 floors to residential use, 27 apartments. We appeared before the Planning Commission in July. They determined it was a type 2 action under SEQR, the State Environmental Quality Review Act, and no further review was required. They also determined that our application was complete. City Engineer Reeves had asked for some additional data from us pertaining to sewer loading, and we provided that data the very next day after the meeting with a sewer loading letter. So I think we're all set there. We have provided, pursuant to the zoning code, a traffic demand and management plan, as well as a parking analysis. The good news is the conversion from commercial office space to the residential units actually results in reduced traffic, reduced trip counts, as well as reduced need for parking. So we're improving both the traffic and the parking by seeking this conversion. Originally, we weren't sure whether or not we needed to appear before the planning board for this conversion because it's completely internal to the building. We are proposing nothing to the external portion of the building. Nothing's going to change on the outside. In fact, we can't propose any changes because of our historic tax credits. We're not allowed to make changes to the outside anyway. This is completely inside. It's not going to be something that is even visible from the outside. But under the new zoning code, if you're going to convert office space, if you're going to convert space in a building and it equals more than 10,000 square feet, you do have to come in for site plan review. So it's a little strange. We don't have a site plan to present to you because we're not making any changes on the site. Everything's internal. But Eric had determined that we do need to come in and seek your approval. And that's why we're here this evening. We've reviewed the staff recommendations. We have no problem putting on a Knox box for the fire department. That's no issue whatsoever. And we'd be seeking your consideration of approving the proposed conversion this evening. And I'm also here to answer any questions that you may have.
I will say this, we have reviewed this from an engineering standpoint and took no exception to what's being proposed. They did provide all the necessary information that we have requested. And at this time, we are recommending the board consider this for approval.
Thank you. Thank you, Andy.
Sure.
Do you have others who are going to speak on behalf?
Not unless you have questions of them.
Anyone? Questions?
Has the project been reviewed by our fire department?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right, then I think we'll see if any member of the public wants to speak on the application. Thank you. Is anyone here to speak on this application? If not, then we can consider a motion to approve the application.
If that's your choice, yeah.
Who moved?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the application.
Thank you, Jim. And
yes. So overall, the project, so we ready to go?
Yeah.
Overall, the project appears to be a good fit for the area and aligns with the city's goals.
Jim, I'm sorry, can you please speak to the microphone?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yep.
Am I good?
Yep.
Overall, the project appears to be a good fit for the area and aligns with the city's goals for downtown revitalization. Approving this change of use could enhance the vibrancy and economic potential of the downtown area. For me, it's a yes.
could I just ask, is this motion contingent on the staff recommendation that Knox box be provided?
Yes.
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 And you're okay with that?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Right. Any further discussion on the motion?
Nothing for me. It's fine.
Call the roll then.
Well,
or we can just
yeah, you guys can just say once the motion's called, you can kind of go down the lines. Jim.
Aye.
Tony.
Aye.
Jim.
aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Congratulations. Good luck.
Thank you very much. Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andy.
My number one approval.
Next project is PLPC 2024-0028, 2412 15th Street. Is there anyone here representing the
that item was tabled. The applicant called in and actually requested that the board table their item tonight and requested a October appearance. So if that's agreeable to you, just because we're approaching that deadline after they've originally presented, then you would want to make a motion to table this item to October. I would say the October hearing date, as that's yet to be determined.
Okay, so is there a motion to table the application to the October meeting upon the request of the applicant?
I make a motion to table the application until October meeting.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
Motion made second. Any discussion?
All in agreement, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. Next project, PLPC 2024-0039, 206 First Street. Anyone here representing the applicant?
Good evening to the new board. Congratulations on your new roles.
Thank you.
My name is Joe Pernicero. I'm here on behalf of Sequence Development. With me is folks from CollarWorks, a local nonprofit. I'd like to introduce yourselves.
My name is Ken Ragsdale. I'm the president of the board of directors of CollarWorks.
Elizabeth Devin, executive director.
And Eric, I think you just let me in. Can I share a presentation?
Sure thing.
Okay, so our project is the redevelopment of 206 First Street into a art gallery and studio space for a permanent home for CollarWorks. We are seeking a conditional use permit as well as site plan approval. We update slowly. There we go. A little background. Actually, Elizabeth, do you want to step up and speak just for 30 seconds on who CollarWorks is?
Sure. CollarWorks is a nationally recognized arts nonprofit dedicated to supporting emerging and underrepresented artists, creating challenging and culturally relevant contemporary artworks. Our goal is to expand the current arts ecosystem in upstate New York, and we provide a serious venue for engagement and dialogue across all disciplines, featuring innovative artworks by local, national, and international artists. We launched here in Troy in 2009 as an arts collective and grew into a nonprofit arts organization in 2015. We got our founding by being a mobile art gallery in many of the vacant storefronts in downtown Troy, really playing a key role in revitalizing the city as a cultural destination in the early, those 2009s, 2010s. And most recently occupied a historic collar factory on River Street, but never had a permanent home to call our own. And so this is an opportunity for us to own this property and house all of our programming under one roof.
The screen's a couple seconds behind me. There we go. So our project is 206 First Street. It was built as a foundry building. It was most recently a auto body shop. It is now currently vacant. We will utilize historic tax credits to redevelop the building. That includes exterior facade improvements, the construction of the interior gallery and studio space, and then very limited site improvements just to meet some of the staff recommendations, as well as clean up the curb appeal of the building. There's just a little screenshot of what the site currently looks like, both from Google Maps and the survey. As you can see, it is a concrete parking lot, some of which is in poor condition, especially at the curb entrance. Most of it will just need minor repairs. We'd like to maintain the concrete. There's some green space in the back right corner. We will be extending that along the southern edge of the property as well as towards the front to meet our green space requirement. Currently, there is minimal lighting, except for the street lighting and some builded mounted lights. We're going to propose adding 1 or 2 extra lights on the lot to help with safety. You'll see 2 asphalt patches in front of the building on the sidewalk. We will tear those up and put in green space to improve curb appeal. And currently, you've got a barbed wire fence in front of the lot. We'll take that down and take direction from the board or staff on what type of fence you'd like to see. There's a couple screenshots from Google Street View. As you can see, the barbed wire fence. Most of the sidewalk is actually in pretty decent shape, with the exception of where the entry goes. As I'll show you on the next slide, we're going to widen that entry and improve it to a 25-foot wide entry, single entry into the lot. And then those asphalt patches in front of the building, like I said, will get taken up and replaced with green space. Per the new code, we will have the concrete sidewalk running across the asphalt drive. There's a rough site plan for you. Like I said, we will propose adding green space along the southern edge to meet our requirement. Eric has informed me that there is no parking requirement, but we will have some parking for the gallery in the concrete lot. Like I said, the single 25-foot wide entrance, which I owe a detail on that to the city engineer and Eric. The concrete sidewalk going across the front. And I will show you on the next slide.
I also, sorry to interrupt, I just wanted to make sure that the board members are aware that this site plan was not part of your packets. It appears to be an updated site plan. Just Joe, in the future, if you can just send that over a little bit before the.
I do apologize. This was after we spoke and I gave some of the staff recommendations already into this plan you're seeing. The one you may have in front of you is just a little bit outdated. So I'll send that over to you after this.
Thank you.
There's your lighting plan. You've got 2 city-owned streetlights in the front. The building-mounted streetlights are existing. We will replace with new fixtures. And then I've circled 2 new light fixtures in the parking lot. Some visuals of the exterior. This is the back alleyway. We are going to replace the now boarded up with concrete garage doors with beautiful glass garage doors to get light into the space. Like I said, the building was built as a foundry in South Troy. It was a very industrial building. I believe that's my, oh, that was a timer. And new windows all across. There's the side view. Like I said, the 2 garage doors will get replaced with new glass garage doors for more light. All new windows. And I believe a fresh coat of paint. We're still discussing that. Yep. Here's a floor plan of the first floor. The back half of the space will remain wide open for the gallery. It's currently concrete floors and brick walls. We'll just refinish the concrete floor. That will be an art gallery. The front space will have a little reception area and then some artist studios and the restrooms. There is currently a second floor. We will maintain that as flex space for the artist, as well as some additional studios and a mezzanine overlooking the gallery. And then just to give you an idea of the neighborhood, in case you're not familiar with that part of the city, that top right photo is looking across the street at Best Fire. Their headquarters are located across the street. Bottom left is looking up north First Street. We've got 1 residential building that immediately neighbors us to the north. And then I believe there's Carmen's Restaurant is on the corner there. And 2 River is just beyond that on the left. View of Best Fire's parking lot, looking further south. And then on the bottom left, looking down First Street, some more residential. Happy to answer any questions. You know, we've got a list of staff recommendations here from Eric that we're going to implement into our site plan. In my opinion, most of them minor. Happy to accommodate. I think 2 questions we had for maybe the city engineer was about curbing in the street. There appears to be some old either granite or slate curb. Just not sure what you'd like to see there.
Well, what my thought is, let's make a site visit next week.
Sure.
And the building roof is a large area.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it might be a good idea from the standpoint of runoff, because you get a lot of runoff from the roof. You're going to be providing some green space around the perimeter of the parking area. So I thought it would be a good idea if we could take advantage of that and have, shall I say, a number 2 wash stone as part of the surface treatment where some of the runoff would be discharged to there, or grass area to absorb some of the runoff. And we'll look at that together, see what makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge asset. What you're proposing is a huge asset for the neighborhood. And so we'll make a site visit together.
Yes.
We'll look at what makes sense curbing wise, what makes sense, shall I say, perimeter green space, how wide that should be, what your needs for parking. And I think that would be, that can be incorporated very nicely into your revised site plan.
Very well.
Yeah.
I'll coordinate that with Eric.
Yeah. And we'll talk about your fencing and what,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any questions for the Colorworks folks as far as their operations?
I have a question about the alley. Or are you going to have access from the alley or exit into the alley, or is it just going to be on First Street?
Currently, there's not a gate or access, but we would be open to considering that. We have considered, the option of the potential of closing down the alley if there's interest in having neighborhood block parties or, cultural festivals or things like that that are coordinated. There could be potential there. So it's something to discuss.
Is it a one-way street? Is it a one-way alley going north or going south, or is it two ways?
I believe it's two-way. Two-way.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board?
How many people do you believe the room will fit, the gallery itself?
Lots.
Well, it's about a 4,000 square foot space, the gallery itself, but it's a very open concept with a very open flow throughout the entire 10,000 square feet space. So I would welcome the fire department to come in and consult with us. But given the history of our programming, I can't foresee an event over 150 people. But with the open, the garage doors, the outside parking lot, we're really seeing the ability to have the open doors and this inside outside sort of flow of foot traffic throughout the building.
I would hope you want more than 150 people.
I would love it, but we'll see.
And we're working with Barb Nelson at TAP, and she can certainly provide a code answer to your question. Yep.
Did you say there was a mezzanine in the building?
There will be, yes. So currently there is a semi-finished second floor where you see those studios that open to below, and then where those stairs are, we'll be able to look over to the gallery space. Yeah, it's a beautiful, wide open historic building. It really is remarkable. There's not many left in South Troy.
Great.
So I just want to give like a little bit of an assist to the board here. This is for a special use permit, right? So through Chapter 285, Section 16E, special review permit criteria. Either one, or the other applicant or board members, you could kind of go down this list of criteria and ask them to, state some of their input on each one of the subjects, either this meeting or the next meeting. But in either way, the applicant should be prepared to address those details.
Sound.
285-16E.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
and I think I may have provided you with some answers to those.
Yeah. It might be just good to have on the record though, as the finding of fact sheet is going to be determined based on the narrative of those questions.
And the narrative will be tonight or provided?
So either if you wanted to run down them tonight, or if you wanted to run down them the next meeting for their hearing.
I think it depends on whether the applicant's prepared tonight or not. Or
right.
would you rather wait until the next meeting?
I've dealt with that process before. I'm happy to answer them tonight. We can also provide in writing shortly after this meeting, but we are certainly prepared to answer those questions tonight.
Well, if there's something that's more complicated and needs written, we'll ask for that. But
correct.
If you can handle it now, we might as well do it. Right?
We can give you our best shot.
Right, so,
is it possible for us to approve contingent upon whatever you're asking?
So no approval may be given tonight, as the only actions that could be handled tonight would be the declaration of the application's completeness.
Right.
And if so, the scheduling of a hearing for the following opportunity.
And can it be declared complete without answers to all of the staff recommendations?
The components of the application, yes, you could assess that they're all there and not have the rundown of the questioning for the special use permit. It's just something that you want to do before you make any action to approve or deny.
Well, are you okay with running through them tonight? And
Sure.
If we can clear that settle that now?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So first thing on the staff recommendations were to provide a more detailed site plan, clarify drive entrance, provide details on sidewalks and curb. Is that what you did? You said this is not, or Eric said this is
correct.
Not.
They presented an updated survey with some of the features that we would look for in site plan.
Yeah.
But we'd like some degree of clarification, some additional measurements, and some kind of exact components of the site plan, how they're going to lay out.
Correct. So we expect to submit a revised site plan that addresses all of these staff recommendations within the next week.
All right. So is there any need for us to go over them? You've looked at them and you're okay with addressing all of those? Is anything there you would object to doing?
Nope. We've reviewed all of them. We have no objections. The only clarification I needed was with the city engineer regarding curbing and the downspouts on the drains, which I think we'll meet next week and address those. But other than that, all of these are easily doable.
All right. So then we could entertain a motion that the application is complete this time, and then we'll set a date for a hearing.
That's correct.
Is that correct? Okay, so is there a motion to declare the application complete?
I make a motion to declare the application complete.
Second?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. So the next motion would be to set a date for a hearing on the application. And I think the November meeting has been indicated would be the proper time for that meeting.
Yeah, the timetable to submit for the October meeting, just because this is a late meeting,
it got pushed,
is going to be for November. Would be the next earliest we can get you on.
Okay, that's
You'd rather have it sooner, but I think we can't meet the timetable.
correct, and I certainly understand everything going on here, so that's
Okay.
certainly okay.
All right.
And did you want to run through those criteria now?
He says he's agreed to them also.
No, the criteria under the code.
The criteria for special use permit. So
okay.
it's, you could ask the applicant to go down this, and Joe has indicated that he is willing to put forward a document that addresses the criteria. If you'd rather wait for that, he could submit that with his updated material for the November hearing, and that way you guys technically wouldn't have to run down that line of questioning now. But if you also wanted to do it tonight or at the hearing in November, and have that discussion on the record, you could as well.
So in any event, this won't have to be on the October meeting, just go to November?
It's going to go to November, yes. The deadline for the submission material was yesterday, so.
All right, will you frame, one of you frame the motion then that we should be considering?
So you guys have already handled all the motions
Right.
that are
Let's
eligible for
have
the
a
applicant tonight.
We need a motion to set a date for the hearing.
So yes, if you wanted to, the hearing date is not yet determined. We're still working on some scheduling just to make.
Okay.
So if you wanted to make a motion to table to the November hearing, kind of generalize that date, then you could.
Okay.
Any one of you can put forward that motion.
Dana, do we need to do anything before that?
That's fine. It's just at some point between tonight and November, you have to run through these criteria. You can ask him to address them tonight, provide written answers to those questions or points that they can't answer tonight, or you can ask him to submit written responses to all of the criteria under the code, and then you could discuss it next time. It's up to you. If you wanted to take the time tonight to run through each of the criteria, then he could come back with any issues, and then you have less of a risk that he's going to have to come back again in December.
So what would your preference be?
We're happy to answer them tonight and at least identify any maybe issues that I have or you may have. And then follow up to that, I can submit in writing to Eric in the next day or two.
Eric, can you run through?
Yeah, I can certainly.
Let's run through the first one so everybody can see what we're talking about.
Okay, so 280 chapter 285 section 16E, special use permit review criteria. The first item of 8 is that the proposal, that the consistency and compatibility of the proposed use with the purposes of this chapter and the requirements of the use district and development intensity zone in which it is located. So based upon its development intensity zone and its use district, is this use commensurate with those details? If you're not prepared to to know those types of, locations, use districts, because we're still getting our feet wet, then I would say, let's make sure that the applicant's aware of this section of the code and provide that he's going to answer all these on the record and potentially with the document in writing as well in preparation for the November hearing. It might be better that way. But just to give a couple of examples of what we're going to be looking for: the consistency and compatibility of the proposed use with the goals and recommendations of the City of Troy Comprehensive Plan, Complete Streets Ordinance, and other approved city plans and programs. The impact on the nature and character of the surrounding neighborhood, natural environment, historic district, or corridor in which it is located. The impact on the site and its surroundings, considering environmental, social, and economic impacts of traffic, noise, dust, odors, release of harmful substances, solid waste disposal, glare, or any other nuisances. Restrictions or conditions on design of structures or operation of the use, including hours of operation, necessary to ensure compatibility with the surrounding uses or to protect the natural resources of the city. The adequacy and accessibility of essential public facilities and services, such as streets, parking spaces, police and fire protection, drainage structures, refuse disposal, water and sewer in schools. The impact of the proposed use on traffic congestion, impairment of pedestrian safety, or overload of existing streets, considering their current width, surfacing, and condition, and any improvement proposed to be made by the applicant. And last, the compatibility of the proposed use with the city's historic preservation guidelines and the impact on adjacent historic resources as formally recognized by the city's historic districts and the New York State and federal registers of historic places.
So when you formulate your responses to these individual questions, for example, when there's discussions of traffic or parking, so you may, I'm making this up, you may have on an ongoing basis know approximately how many artists may be in and out of the building, but then during special events, you might think that you'd be using the gallery and having, I think you mentioned 150 people. So you should give a sense to the board of if there are variations over time, what that would look like. And also help the board understand what is in the immediate area, the immediate neighborhood, how this will benefit or not the other businesses in the area, and how it'll fit in with the comprehensive plans criteria for that particular part of the city.
So you will submit it in writing then?
Yes, absolutely. We'll jump right on that. I've done similar under the old code. There's a similar form, so we'll just take a look at the new code and address each one point by point.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
I'm sorry, did we make a motion to for the hearing? Okay.
So
that would be the next
motion to defer this to a hearing in November.
I move that we put this on a November schedule.
For a hearing, okay.
I second it.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Thank you to the board.
We'll see you
in November.
In November. Thank you.
You can open, since the application has been declared complete, you can open the floor for public forum if you'd like.
Yes. Yes.
Could you please speak into the microphone? Thank you.
My apologies. So I'm the owner of the lot directly south of the lot in question.
Could you state your name, please?
My name is Antonia Santiago.
Thank you.
And I own the lot in conjunction with my husband, Martin McCormick. So I just have a few questions in terms of the proposed development of the site, as it directs me, it impacts me quite directly. I was wondering, there was no mention of the southern edge of the property in terms of the fence, only the western edge, like the street edge. And in my experience, and I think you guys have probably seen that the southern edge, the fencing is really in quite a state of disrepair. It's made of various layers of different materials, corrugated steel, razor wire, and so I'm just kind of wondering if there's any plan in terms of, it is an eyesore, but I think it also is structurally unsound. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. But just that there was no mention of that. So yeah. No.
Do you want to comment on that now or in your
Is that the new fence on the southern portion?
Okay. I think there might be a need of some kind of communication because of, in terms of property lines and that kind of thing. Because I'm not really certain of, I think a portion of that 3-layered fence.
Could you address the board because we cannot hear you?
Sorry,
I
so
cannot hear you.
the fence is made of 3 layers, and I think a portion of the layering is on our property line. And so I think there is some discussion necessary in terms of like the construction and removal and blah, blah, but that can come later. I'm also curious about a time frame of the overall construction. Certainly the interior portions don't really affect me as much, but the exterior portions, you know, I know that demolition and removal of a concrete slab is no small feat, and it is directly adjacent to my building. And so just curious about a time frame of that.
Can you?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you?
All comments need to be from the microphone.
We can share.
So happy to meet you. We just closed on this property.
So, I didn't say that. I'm absolutely.
So, I believe in open communication, and we have a site survey that was done, and I think we should just meet and sit down and talk it all through so that we're in open communication about it all. So, okay.
There's one other. Yeah. I just made some notes. Time frame. I was curious if you were intending on, because I know the second floor is currently maybe a somewhat finished, but it is an apartment space and has been rented as a residential apartment. Where is there any intention of a residential occupancy of that space? Okay.
There is not. The applicants indicated there is not.
I see. Okay. Oh, and just as a piece of information, the runoff is quite severe across the front of the building, across the sidewalk. And I've experienced that just in real time passing the structure. There's not substantial business in the immediate neighborhood other than a corner store, you know. And I'm just wondering if, you know, what kind of events are you planning in the outdoor space? I'm a little bit concerned that the outdoor lighting would present a nuisance to my immediate structure and my family.
I can speak to that. Having a family myself, I'm sensitive to that. And we've been really thoughtful in sort of our conceptualization of that outdoor space, and have spoken to quite a few people who we've met in the neighborhood about what they would like to see in that space. We'd actually like to see it not used as parking as much as it could be possibly a gathering space, like thinking of more of a kind of urban park, like that that kind of design. So lighting, as minimal lighting as possible, is sort of the goal. Not heavy noise is in the plans, to be sensitive to the neighborhood, but a space that people can truly come together and experience art and life and just spend time. There's not many places in that immediate neighborhood to gather. Just being in that spot, spending time, and in the last few months, I've seen a lot of families walking by, a lot of people on bikes, people running, people walking, and I've taken every opportunity to stop and introduce myself and meet them and just talk about what it's like living in the neighborhood and what they'd like to see. And many people have said we need more space to just spend time. And so that's what we missed you. I know, but it's really nice to meet you tonight. And I look forward to getting to know you. So that's what we envision, is really developing that space together with the neighborhood, and having it really focus around art and culture and community placemaking, but not in a intense, invasive way, but in a really sympathetic way. So, yes.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else who wants to speak on this application? All right. Thank you. Next.
Also, just to double check, we do have the open meetings, so participants are attending through Zoom as well. So just participants are also attending the meeting through Zoom. So when we ask for public comment, we just want to make sure that those that are attending on Zoom also have the opportunity to be able to speak. So if there's anybody that's watching this hearing take place from Zoom, if you have any comments that you'd like to put on the record regards to this proposal, please raise your hand on the Zoom. There are no comments.
No comments. Thank you. So next. Okay, thank you, folks.
Next project, PLPC 2024-0042, 212 4th Street. Anyone representing the applicant?
Good evening. Chris Schrader, representing I'm the applicant owner as well as engineer of record. I also retain TAP Architects as the architect of record. Eric, would you be able to post the site plan?
I sure can. Just one moment, please.
So while we're waiting, a little bit of a background on the project. I purchased the property through the city auction with the intent of creating a small community event space on the first floor and then 2 micro units on the second floor for residential apartments. Currently, we are under renovation of the first floor. It's an existing brick facade, which we plan to match on the second story as well. And we also just received approval for the zoning area variance relative to glazing to meet the 50% glazing requirement on all sides facing public streets. Obviously, this building is facing 3 public streets, so it's a unique parcel in that respect.
Could you maybe move closer to the mic? Or
yep,
that's better.
Certainly.
You can also lift that up.
Okay. Thank you. And then in addition to renovation of the building, there's also a small green space that we're going to restore as well as part of the project. So currently, as it's outlined here on the site plan, it's showing a single-story masonry and wood frame mixed use, which we will be building a new construction second story upon. And I did review the staff comments. We agree with those, and we will plan to address those for the public hearing. So relatively, straightforward development plan. It's a small parcel, only 700 square feet of building with another several hundred square feet of green space.
I have a couple of questions. On one of the maps, it shows that your buildings are separated and the pictures show that the buildings are attached.
Are we able to pull that image up?
Yeah, so I think if you're referring to the site
view?
plan where it shows a large gap in between
right.
the wall and the lawn.
Right, no, this.
Those buildings are connected.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the green space and seeing the space between the green space and the building. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's an existing sidewalk in between.
I did drive by it, and your green space, I know you want to do some kind of small events. Do you think that space is small enough where some of these events, some of the people would be coming outside to enjoy the outside?
That's what we're anticipating and looking into right now.
So is that why you're taking the tree down?
Yeah.
I love that tree.
I know. I'm torn on that tree because I'm enamored by it, but it's also much too large for that small space currently. Yeah. So, I mean, right now what we're using is basically screening for the renovation.
I noticed on your plans that you might be doing planters around the space. I think a couple of benches would be nice in there also, so that if people are coming out and sitting or whatever, they could sit if they came out and were a part of the event.
Yeah, that's great feedback. It's certainly something we're looking into. I don't think we have a real exact final plan relative to the green space. While we're working for the first floor development and then the second floor. So I appreciate the feedback.
Gee, could the city use the Christmas tree at the Monument Square and decorate it if you're going to cut it down?
I reached out last year actually on that. I was told last year that it was just too short. Yeah, they
It's a
need something
beautiful
5
tree.
or 10, feet taller, so.
I have a question. Are you concerned at all about the fact that I believe CDTA is building, I don't know what they're calling it, a bus center or
the mobility hub?
Yeah, like I think it's literally across the street from you.
It's in front of
I
it,
suspect
yes.
that's going to create a lot of people, traffic. Maybe those folks might think that your area, your green space is a place for them to kind of congregate also.
Entirely possible, not necessarily concerned about it. I certainly welcome the CDTA redevelopment. That's why we worked with them to put the signage on our property, in addition to moving their e-bike or their bikes to that location as well from a temporary basis. But really at the end of the day, the idea is to create a third space with the first floor, that's open up to the community and then help out, small businesses that want to do pop-up events, things of that nature. So the idea is like, it actually works out really well to be directly adjacent to that.
Thank you. Any questions? Any other questions?
Maybe one more. Is your second floor going to be taller than the building behind you, or is that?
It will be taller than the building behind. Yep. Were there elevation drawings provided as well, or? Yeah, it appears they don't show.
Show the total height.
Yeah. But we can certainly provide that for the public hearing if you'd like.
So you're applying, you want 2 micro units on the second floor to be built. Is this a phased thing, or are you doing this all at once?
The idea initially was to do as a phase development, phase 1 being the first floor redevelopment, and then phase 2 being the second. But just due to the nature of financing, we're gonna have to bundle the project together. So the idea is once we get this approval, then we can, start on the second phase as well at the same time as the first phase.
And with regard to the units, micro units, these are going to be 300 square feet?
Correct.
Each?
Yeah.
Okay.
Relatively
small
Small studios. Exactly. Yep. Yeah, I plan to occupy one of them.
Anything further?
So the actions tonight would be essentially the same as the last. To motion as to whether or not you believe the application is complete or not. And if you think so, then to schedule a hearing.
Again in November?
It would be November.
Okay. So do we have public comment first?
Only after the application's been declared complete can you open the floor for public comment.
Okay, I make a motion that the application be considered complete.
Second.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Public comment at this time, Eric?
If you wish. You can wait until the next meeting if you so choose, and if you think there's going to be substantially more material that it would be worthwhile for the public to comment on, or you can open it up tonight.
Yeah, if anyone's here, we might as well see. Is there anyone here who wants to comment on this application? Is there anyone attending by Zoom who wants to comment on the application?
Nobody on Zoom.
Okay, so thank you. So next, we would entertain a motion to schedule a hearing on this application for November. Is that correct?
Chris, would you be open to coming back in November?
Motion?
I move for the November meeting.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
The last order of business, I think since we just forgot to adopt the July meeting minutes for the record. So if one of you would care to make a motion to adopt July's meeting minutes, if you have anything, comments on that, if you'd like, now would be the time.
I don't know if any of us were at that meeting, so we may not be able to make any corrections, but anyone want to move to approve the minutes?
I approve
Adopt.
adopt the minutes of the July 17th meeting,
Thank you.
to approve them.
Second.
Aye.
Any discussion? All in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Say no. Motion carries. Thank you. Motion to adjourn?
Correct.
Is there a motion to adjourn, or do you want to stay?
I move to adjourn.
Thank you, Tim.
Second.
This is the discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you all. You guys did great.